Hey, it's Darius, and we've got some exciting things to talk about in this video. But before we get into it, I want to go over the challenge from last video. It was a simple one, but it's just a high-low game, and here it is. A couple if statements. You'll also observe... Oh, you know what? I just realized it doesn't have the equality operator in it. I guess you could do it without it. Oh well, there's really no point in going back and doing it because you... Wow, I really didn't think of that. Alright, well, that challenge was kind of a waste, I guess. Hope if you did it, you might have gained something from it. Oh, well, I guess one thing is... You'll notice I kind of condensed my if statements. They're like that. And this is just personally what I do. I've seen other people do it as well. It doesn't necessarily help with readability, except that it puts everything into one nice big block, and it ties it all together really well. When they're separated out like this, especially if you have other if statements surrounding it, it can be really confusing what's all connected to what. Because remember I said that the else and the else if are tied to the one right before it. So this if statement is completely separate from this chain of three, and this last one is separate. So even if this guy fails, or not fails, but it's false, it's still going to come down here and work on this if, else, and then no matter what, it's also still going to get down to here. That's why I like to join these guys together. So now looking at this, you can see there's like three separate things going on. So the only thing that I don't like about it is it kind of makes these conditions not align anymore. And you could tab out and align them like this, but that just looks weird, so I'm okay with it. Anyway, there, now you gain something from that challenge. Hopefully the next will be better. But now I'd like to talk about arrays, okay? And an array in JavaScript is a list. And we're going to use the let keyword again, of course, and we're going to try to spell it right. An array is created using brackets, square brackets, and then we put our items in, whatever we want, and then separate it by commas, and then bam, we created a list. So we can just start entering numbers, you know, and that's pretty useless by itself, but I promise that arrays can be very useful if you have real data to put into them or whatever. So now that we have an array, there's a few things we can do. One, we can access some element or item n. That is the nth one. So like this. Now remember that computers start counting from 0. That's just how they work. So this is the 0th element. This is the first, the second, the third. Alright? Yeah. Just gotta get used to it. And conveniently, to access it, we also use the square brackets. And inside the square brackets, we put the index, it's called. So it's not really n, it's by the index. And the index is your number, so 0, if I were to alert this, you would see that that would be 4. Okay? Likewise, array 3 is not really the third, but the fourth. 1, 2, 3, fourth, but 0, 1, 2, 3. Alright, just gotta get used to that offset of 0 counting. I could use the alert statement, but you're just gonna have to do it on your own. if you don't trust me. Alright? So that's all cool. You can also modify the contents of an array by assigning using the equal sign to something else. So right now it's equal to 86. Let's say we want it to not be 86 but 87. That'll work fine. The next time you request the item with an index of 2, yeah, it'll have changed to 87. So that's pretty cool. Whenever you're done with an element in the array, you can delete it. Now, what happens to this is, well, sort of what you would expect. It deletes 86, but it doesn't. Well, not 86. We changed it to 87. It deletes the item with the index of 2, but it doesn't delete that whole slot. That is, it removes the content, but it kind of just leaves an empty spot there. And what it fills in is something called undefined. So undefined is like just a built-in word similar to true and false. In fact, this editor is going to make true and false the same color as undefined. But undefined is just a it's not really a value. Yeah, sure, I guess it's a value used in JavaScript to signify that something has either has never been defined, or it was defined and then got deleted. Okay, and undefined it might be a little bit mysterious, because you can set x equal to undefined, which just honestly doesn't sound like anything that's very logical or useful at all. But I mean, no, I guess it's not. In fact, this is actually very useless because, like I said, undefined is also what JavaScript automatically assigns to variables that you don't assign. So if I just say let x, what's the value of x? Well, we didn't define x, so yeah, it's going to be undefined. I suppose I've said a lot without proving it, so let's go ahead and alert x. Oh, that semicolon. X is undefined. Okay. X is undefined because we didn't define it. Alright. Let's also just see what happens when we alert what array 2 is now that we've deleted it. It should be undefined, and it is. Ooh, so I know that's kind of a lot at once. So examples will help as you write code on your own. Using arrays will help. There's another thing you can do. There's some other ways to analyze an array. You can check out what the length of the array is. This is a dot separator, alright? Whenever we use a dot separator, we're saying we're using some functionality or property of whatever came before the dot separator. So we're saying what's the length of array. Whenever we talk about objects, I'll get into more of a discussion about the dot separator and properties and how you can actually create your own objects that have these sort of properties that you can access with a dot separator. Oh, let's see. Of course, there's more that you can do with arrays, But since I think I've introduced enough for now, and as we do more advanced examples later on, you'll kind of learn as you go. You know what? No, there's one more thing I want to... I changed my mind. There's one more thing I want to show you. How you can add stuff to an array using the dot push function. All right. Again, we see the dot separator, and that's because the alert function, you can call it wherever you want, and it just does its thing. Always the same, but the dot push, you run it kind of connected to the array that you're working with. Oh, and this is just well, let me finish what I'm talking about. We can push stuff into the array. And now if we were to alert the length, how many do we have? Well, we started with 4, and then let me get rid of some of this stuff. And we don't even need that. We started with 4, we pushed 1, and this is push to the end, or append. Alright, that's what push does. We should have a length of 5 at this point. Nice. Okay, now at that point, I think I've introduced enough about array that we can do simple stuff with it. The challenge for this video is going to be a program that you give it a to-do list, an array of strings, okay? And then what I want the program to do is alert the last item in the to-do list. Get you started here. I put numbers in at first, but you can put strings in too. Feed the cat. Alright, I'll let you do the rest. Remember, it should alert, somehow find the last item. And of course, you should have more than one item in your to-do list. If you're on top of the game, actually, your to-do list will be empty, I suppose. Anyway. Okay, well, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.